I'm Annie O'Malley, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
You've been doing some, not necessarily collaborations, but you've been testing the waters with different, writers and producers. Like, how has that kind of inspired your upcoming music at the moment?
It definitely shows me how people write their songs, how they start, the different ways that you can, because, when I start, I'll usually start on an instrument, and then it'll just kind of come out from that, or like once in a while I'll think of a line, I'll be like, oh, that's a cool chorus, and then I'll write it down, and then I'll use it eventually.
Yeah.
But it was cool, like, the way I would go when we were writing choruses, and I would say, oh, like this melody, and they would be like, what about this? And I'm like, oh, I didn't even, like, they just have a different idea, you know what I mean?
Right.
So with mixing both of those together, it came out with some cool products.
That's
So
pretty cool.
yeah.
Right now, you're currently promoting your new single, Golden Doves, and I got to tell you, like, I put the song on for the first time. I put it on, and then I just felt this like big sense of relaxation. Like, your voice is just so soothing. But I'm sure it's not easy to sing that way. I feel like you have to control it a lot more that way. Talk to me about like how you kind of learn to create or to control your voice the way that you do.
So for that song, it's a lot more moody, and it's a lot more slow, and it's a lot more breathy than a lot of my other ones. The pop songs are a lot more, I'm belting a lot more and stuff like that. So I think I wanted a song like that because I wanted a difference from what was already out. And to me, like, calm and moody and stuff is that breathy, like, very slow kind of, feel. And a lot of my favorite bands, like Fleet Foxes and stuff, they have that kind of thing when they record their voice.
Right.
So that's how I wanted to do that. And then we just had the microphone turned down a lot, and I was just really close to it. So you can hear, like, every single detail of, like, the breathing and, like,
cool.
all that.
That's really cool. Now, talk to me about the creative process of that track, the lyrics, for example. What really inspired you to write the song? And, this is your third release from your upcoming debut EP. So, like, why do you feel like it was time to release this track as well?
Yeah, so I wrote this song last year in November, and I was in Florida, and I was in Florida when I finished it. I started it in Arizona, but my favorite place is the beach. I love being where the water is. I love where it's sunny. Like, I don't do cold. I grew up in the cold, and I don't do cold anymore. And so Florida's
changed.
Florida's always been my happy place. It's where we grew up, going a lot of time for vacation, and I wanted a song that kind of brought that feeling into it. Gold is a word that I use a lot in my songs.
I was actually going to ask you that. Like, what is it about gold or golden?
Yeah. I just love, like, I think it's a great descriptor word. I think it's, it represents sunsets, and I love the color. You know what I mean? I think there's just a lot of visuals I love that. But so I wrote the song on the guitar. I was just kind of playing around. I liked the way it sounded, and then I wanted it to be very poetic. So if you read the words, they're not like a story. You wouldn't be like, oh, she's talking about this. It's kind of like, I'm talking about visuals, I'm talking about feelings, I'm talking about smells, I'm talking about different sensory things like that, so that when you're listening to it, it kind of is like you're almost kind of wondering what I'm talking about. You need to read it to kind of understand it, and it's kind of like a poem. So I wanted it to be like 3 minutes and 50 seconds of just like paying attention to the music and just listening. So it's like, you're stressed out, you're overwhelmed. It's like put the headphones in and listen, because, that's what music does for all of us. And you just relax,
It's cool because I don't know if I feel like this was kind of like you came at the right time for me, at least, because the last week and a half or two, like, I've been finding myself, when I'm at work, when I'm doing something, I'm driving, I find myself putting like just relaxation music, because like I don't feel stressed.
Exactly. Like, no, I want pop music in the car, and I'm like, no, I want to vibe in the car. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But like, I don't feel stressed whatsoever. I just had that feeling of like, let me listen to, piano for like an hour, or let me listen to acoustic guitar for like an hour, and then I listened to your track, and I was like, whoa, this is like part of like my zen for the week. But jumping from doing a more poppier stuff in your previous stuff to this right now, like, do you feel like it was an evolution to get to this song, or do you feel like this song came naturally and the other stuff was an evolution?
Yeah, so when I first started writing music, I started writing little songs with guitar and piano, and there wasn't any really genre to it. It was kind of something that was basic, and if a producer took it and said, let's like add these sounds or whatever, then the genre would kind of come. But at first, it was just slower songs. So a lot of my first songs are just kind of like simple structure, like verse, chorus, verse, whatever, and I'm telling a story. And they are slower like that.
Yeah.
My favorite music is like alternative and stuff like that. So I wanted a song that was like that I'm like, this is my favorite type of music. And like, I put it out because I'm the most proud of that. Right now, I have a lot of other stuff that I'm really excited for that sounds similar. But so I started writing slower music at first. And then I think a lot of people, like my mom especially, she loves like EDM music and house music and all that kind of stuff. So I know, and she's a badass. Sorry.
You can say whatever you want. Don't worry.
Cool. But she was like, "You need dance music. Like I want to hear it and I want to dance." And so I was like,
so relaxed over there too.
I know. But yeah, so I was like, okay, I need to get some pop in there for mom. And then my dad showed me alternative music, indie music, singer-songwriter music. So I was like, that's like, like what I love. Obviously, I love every genre. There's something I'm going to love in every genre.
Right.
But originally it was slow stuff, more ballady stuff, actually. And then when I started understanding what producers could do and seeing all the different sounds that they could use, I was like, oh, okay, like this could sound like this. And so I work with Johnny K, and he just like has all these cool ideas that I'm like, okay, I know he can do this, and then I'll think about that when I'm writing music. I'm like, oh, I could put this on here. So yeah, it was all an evolution, kind of stemming from myself and listening to all different types of music. I try and listen to as much as I can. Yeah.
And it's cool that you have that kind of background with music, with different styles of music, because Johnny K is more of a rock alternative kind of producer. I don't recall, other than Plain White Tees, I think that's the closest to like pop.
Yeah.
But everybody else is like Megadeth or like Stained or bands like that. So,
Did your research.
You know what? When I tell you I like your stuff, I mean it. So, going into the studio with him, like, do you feel like you kind of taught him your style of music while he was teaching you the way that he produces his?
I would love to think that because he's incredible. So I would love to think that I taught him a little bit. But yeah, I think, and he'll say like it's definitely a little bit different than what he normally does. Yeah. But he just got it. Like he was like, okay, I get it. And I put a lot of pressure on him. Like I'll come in and I'll be like, Johnny, I have 5 songs. They're all done and I need to record them all. And he's like, Annie, I'm not done with the first 6. We need to slow down. Like, so I don't know. Yeah, I think we've both taught each other a lot, specifically him teaching me a lot. He's extremely smart. He loves to custom make guitars and like all this crazy stuff. Awesome. And he knows every single detail about producing. And so, yeah, it's a good collaboration.
Now, you are currently getting ready to like release your debut EP. That's what you're working on right now with Johnny K as well. So how do you feel he challenged you or made you step out of your comfort zone for this EP?
So when I first brought him the first 3 songs that we did, Island is one of them, and there was a couple moments where I was like, like when I write, I sit there alone at my piano or my guitar, and I just think, and I'm like, this is what happened, and this is what I'm writing, and like once the song's perfect, I'm like, it's done. You know what I mean? Like I love it like that, whatever. And there would be different moments where he was like, let's just try this. And I was like, no, I like it the way it is. And then he'd be like, let's just try it. You know what I mean? And then...
Are you stubborn in the studio?
I am very stubborn. And I was like, no, like I love it, whatever. And he was like, let's try this. And he would even be like, let's sing another song that sounds like this. Maybe that'll give you an idea. Listen to those production things. And I would try and I'd kind of fight him on it. And then I'd do it and I'd be like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's a little, he's successful. He knows what he's doing. So then... yeah, so I don't know. I would just kind of go with that and trust what he had to say, and then it ended up working pretty well.
That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear more music from you. Music is not an easy career to chase after, and I really mean chase after, because I feel like you really have to put your all into it in order to just be heard by one person, for example. But you're young, both in age and both in the industry. So like, what is it about music that really inspired you that like no matter what obstacle you have to go through, this is what you want to do? So music has always been that one thing that like, if everything else was shitty, like if everything else sucked, I would still play music, or it was still there, or there was another song to listen to, or there was another, You're
song
constant.
to learn. Right. And growing up, when I was in middle school, I was always very slow in school. I was always behind. I was always confused. I never had the best grades, and I would try, but when I would do music, I was like, I know what I'm doing. Like, I have something that was like, okay, cool. Like, this is my thing. You know, like everyone else would be, oh, I got an A on the test and I got this. And I'm like, I failed that. But I wrote a song and it's.
New music video coming out. Like
Yeah, right? So it was like, it was something that I had that was like mine kind of. And even the moments where I've been literally the most sad to where I'm like crying, I'm still walking up to the piano and I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, even if I'm like so upset, like, and I'm like texting my friends, sorry, I'm busy, but I'm actually just laying in bed, like, I'm still, like, I'd still go and walk up to the piano and still try and write something. So it's just, yeah, it's been that constant thing that I've always had and just, I always will have. And yeah.